What's up, guys? David DeSell here, your host of the Business with the Boys podcast. And I'm very excited to bring our guest to you today, John McLeay. John owns McLeay Building Company out of Nebraska. And he has a lot of really, really great takeaways shared with us today, particularly how he went from the corporate world into becoming a business owner. The other thing that I think you'll really enjoy about this episode is John is just a salt of the earth type of dude. You can feel that throughout the episode. You can hear that. You can see that. He's just an amazing guy who shared a lot of really good takeaways throughout his journey of building his company. So you're not going to want to miss this one. Let's go ahead and dive right in. Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. Well, John, I know you're doing some work with our boy Landon, and that's how we came about. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. I've never done a podcast before, so this is super cool.
Get you
Well,
out of the mud and into the recording studio, right,
yeah, first
John?
No
time for
kidding.
everything. I'm sure it's rare that you're actually in the office at, 1:30 in the afternoon. I'm sure
Yeah.
you're usually out and about. So
He's
welcome
he's
back to the
happy
air
because
conditioning.
it just started raining outside,
Oh,
so it's a
you're
good time for him to
welcome.
be in the office.
Yeah.
That's funny. So how did Landon, how did you two meet in the first place? Help kind of share the inception of you guys
Yeah.
knowing each other.
So, in the process of going through the boat dealership side of things and looking to try and purchase a building there, um, I've had a great relationship with Dale Scott, who is, in my opinion, one of the better commercial real estate guys in Omaha, and have since gotten to know his son and partner, Cole Scott. And again, I know, as you know, a lot of guys in the construction space and work with a lot of those guys, but I didn't really have anybody that did kind of like warehouse space type
Hmm.
stuff. A lot of guys that do hotels, apartments, and specialize in that. Home builders, that type of world. But I would say, John, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you're kind of in a little bit different niche. So, I had gone to a couple of other relationships that I had first, and with this building we were looking at, kind of got bids, and the numbers kind of blew me away, and I voiced some frustration there with Dale and Cole, and they said, "Well, honestly, we think you ought to connect with John McLeay with McLeay Building Group." And these numbers seem pretty high to us, and so that's how we originally got introduced. And then I just instantly liked him. No bullshit kind of guy. The numbers came back much more in line with what I was thinking. And I really just appreciated how he handled the process as far as like getting his subs on site with us to kind of walk through what our vision was. So that way, eliminating as much guessing game as possible. And then, like, less than 2 weeks later, he turns around an 80-page line item proposal that, like, doesn't happen in the construction world, right? It's all just like, oh, just trust me, this is what the pricing is on stuff. And it's like, yeah, okay, right? Because one guy could be, 100 grand for something, and somebody else is 250,000. It's like, yeah. So my partners and I really appreciated the process, how he went about his business. And I told him that, and I said, look, we need some guys in your space on. Would you be open to it? And he was like, not really my gig, but I'll give it a shot. So here we are.
Well, thanks for accepting Landon's bullying and joining us
Yeah.
today, John.
No, I'm happy to. I think Landon and I have kind of hit it off from the beginning and really excited to work with him and his partners. So,
Sweet. Well, walk us through. So after your schooling, be it high school or college, like what was that like? And, in particular, like what was your first thing that you did after school? Because you didn't, graduate and then start this company. There were some steps in between. So bring us through a little bit of your backstory.
yeah. So my backstory is probably a little bit different than most. I grew up, my dad was in the industry. He had a small company when I was young. And he spent 23 years with Kiewit. And so, between helping him out, my grandfather was in the industry as well. And so, I mean, I started working construction at 16. As soon as I was old enough to drive myself to work, I spent, every summer and every, winter break working construction. And so, I was lucky to have multiple avenues of people that were willing to give me that opportunity. So, I worked for MCL for 2 years throughout high school. I went to college at UNO, got a degree in construction engineering and technology. But as fate would have it, my wife and I found out about our first son when I was 19, and so we grew up incredibly fast. And so college, for me was honestly just a horrible, miserable experience. I was working two jobs. I was framing houses during the day. I was going to school at night. If I wasn't going to school at night, I was bartending. Uh, and so it was awful, but it was really, really a great thing for me in the long run because it really kind of made me grow up. I was light years ahead of my peers. I was gaining very valuable construction experience. And so, my last 3 years of college, I had gotten in, after my sophomore year, I had gotten an internship at Kiewit. And so I worked all summer, and they asked, hey, would you mind sticking around and working through school a little bit? And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact, I'll work full time and I'll go to school at night. And so I did that for the next 3 years. And so by the time I graduated college, proper, I had 3 years of experience at Kiewit. I was kind of running my own work almost out of the gate. And it was an
Which doesn't
awesome,
happen if you don't know Kiewit. That doesn't really happen right away.
yeah, I mean, it
They're
was just,
freaking huge.
yeah, I mean, so it was just an awesome opportunity that I got. And it was a great gift, and I took full advantage of it. I mean, I worked my tail off, and I continued to do so after that. So a couple of years after that, I got a really good opportunity to go back to working with MCL, who I had worked with in high school. I spent 8 years there. Uh, Loved working there. Continued to get bigger and bigger job opportunities, which I'll forever be thankful for. And had worked up to a spot where I was able to have have some skin in the game with a small stock offering, and that was great. That was the thing I'd been working for, and at first I thought that was going to be it. And um, shortly after, I just started thinking more and more about it, and I'd kind of always wanted to start my own company, and it just wasn't really in the cards up until really that point. I started thinking more seriously about it. And you know MCL is a great company, like, but we were getting big, 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 big. And that really just wasn't, at the end of the day, something that was of interest to me. I like you guys are saying, I like getting my hands dirty, and I like being on the job, and I like working with the guys, and having that time with each of my customers. And when you're leading a company that size, you're not doing that, right? I mean, you've got teams of
You can't.
people and
Yeah.
so many jobs. And as thankful as I was for the opportunity, it kind of just came down to, I don't think this is for me. This is great. A lot of people this would be a dream, but I kind of want to try something else. And I started getting recruited for some more executive level positions for other companies. And I don't know what it was specifically, but it just kind of felt like, maybe this is, which was just crazy now that I think back. Like, I was at like the top, of where I was at, and probably should have been satisfied with that, but I guess I wasn't. And So I took an opportunity as a vice president of another company that I thought, had some advantages that others didn't. It was AOI Corporation. They did construction. They also did furniture, and they also did some dirt system, which is like a modular wall. And it was really cool. And I thought it was different. It was another place where I could go and have ownership opportunity if I wanted to. And it was great. I loved the people. The business wasn't right for me. And so, I declined any opportunities for ownership and to stay. And it was I was kind of at the point then where it's like, all right, it's now or never. Like you either gotta start your own company now, or you just got to stick it out where you're at. And, it kind of came down to, I was going to have to make a substantial investment in time or money, no matter what I did. And, when I kind of boiled it down, it's like I would much rather, invest in myself and have the pressure be on my shoulders and my shoulders alone, than invest in something else. And so that's what we did. I called my dad. I said, he had retired from Kiewit. I'm like, hey, we had talked about this. I'm doing it. Are you in? Or are you out? And he took about 2 seconds and he's like, I'm in too. And it was just like a shotgun start from there. So it was terrifying. I mean, I had a wife and 4 kids, and there's no money coming in, and we're starting from scratch. But it's been the hardest, most awesome, rewarding thing I've ever done. And if, every year we can keep it going, I think is a blessing. But we get stronger and stronger every year. So
I love it. Going back to when you were 19, you found out that uh, your then wife or then girlfriend that became your wife.
girlfriend that became the wife. I mean, we had been
Okay.
together. We've been together since we were, 16, 17. So it was a it was a beautiful thing that just wasn't planned. So
Yep. So in that moment, I
Guilty.
think I am I the only one that did it sequentially?
You are.
yeah, it happens.
Um, so thinking back to that moment, I feel like there wouldn't be many people, if at all, or if anyone, excuse me, that would have blamed you if you dropped out of school and focused on providing for the family, and instead you chose to do both. Walk us through that kind of thought process that you had. Like, why stick with school and not just drop out? Because no one would have said shit, frankly.
Yeah.
I feel.
No. Uh, yeah, I'm glad I did. I think I was very fortunate to have great parents, and my mother and father-in-law the same, and that was, as hard as it was, like I had a lot of help and a lot of encouragement behind me. Both my dad and my father-in-law, like, there's no way you're dropping out of school. Like you're going to do whatever it takes, to get it done. And so that made it easier knowing someone's got your back and you've got their encouragement. And they were just amazingly helpful with, helping my wife and I care for, our young one, uh, through those first few years. And, at the same time, I had big aspirations, and, I was at Kiewit, and they're like, hey, we, we only hire, college educated people for these higher level positions. And I just viewed it as, it's something I have to do.
Hmm.
It sucks, but I'm just gonna freaking grind through it until it gets done. Um, but man, it was hard. Like the first 4 years almost killed me. The next 5 or 6 years nearly broke me. But when I came out on that other side, like I had grown so strong, just mentally and physically, and being able to handle stresses and challenges. I just felt like that had put me so far ahead of my peers, just because of that life that I had lived. I would never be here today or be where I'm at today without having gone through that struggle. And it was the best thing that ever happened to me. You know, my wife and kids are they're my everything. Like in my phone, my wife and kids, our group chat is, you know, my everything. And it's just really, really awesome.
It
But
makes it a
God,
hell of a lot easier
I
to,
never want to do that again.
yes, it makes it a hell of a lot easier to go down the entrepreneurial journey when you've already been through that shitstorm, though. You know, it's like, bring it
Totally.
on, right?
So yeah, we so my wife, who is a phenomenal athlete, our son was about a year old, and she's like, hey, she was a volleyball player. She's like, hey, uh, I want to go back and finish my last 2 years of eligibility. And I'm just like, oh my God, you've absolutely got to be kidding me. Like, like we had bought our first house. We had, you know, we had two cars. We were going to school, and I'm just like, how much more can you throw at me right now, God? And but she did, and she was, you know, she was an All-American. It was great. I'm so thankful that, you know, I kept my mouth shut, and she got to finish that because she probably would have never forgave me. So, uh,
So you've got
but
two
yeah,
strong-willed individuals in your household.
you have no idea. Yes, she's probably stronger than I am. So
That's
it's
awesome.
great. She's my rock.
What was her take? You know, I know you talked about your dad and him instantly saying I'm in. What did the conversation look like with your wife when you said, "Hey, I'm going to take this steady paycheck and throw it out the window and probably take on a bunch of debt and hope this thing works."
So, as tough as my wife is, she is not a risk taker whatsoever. And so, no shit, I had been talking about this, you know, because it didn't happen overnight, right? Like I was kicking it around, and then, you know, there
Because I
was
mean, at the time
about a
you were
month.
knowing where you were at, you were probably making pretty good money.
Oh yeah, well, like I
You were more
said,
than
like
fine.
we were finally stable, right? We had
Yep.
finally just when I we were finally comfortable, I did something just stupid and just threw comfort out the window and like, nope, don't want that. That's not great. And then right back into the fire. Uh, but no kidding. So like, I'm like, hey, I'm doing it, and it was like we have this vacation planned. After vacation, I'm going to put in my notice, and I'm gonna do it. And so I put in my notice, and I came home that day, and I'm like, all right, I put my notice in, and she freaked out, just freaked out, just like, you did what? And you know, I'm like, well, yeah, we've been talking about this for like a month, you know. She's like, but what are we gonna do for money? And I'm like, well, I guess I hadn't thought about that, you know. You know, I'm like, I got a plan. It'll be all right. Um, but yeah, the first year, you know, JF and I said, okay, we're not pulling any money out of the company. We're not going to get a paycheck for a year, and so that was again extremely hard, but one of the best things we did. I mean, we were able to, you know, put everything back in, and after the first year, you know, we were completely debt free. Like we've never owed a penny for anything since, you know, 9 years later. And it's just built strength, right? I mean, I feel like we did it right. It wasn't easy, um, but
It
I'm
didn't
so
sound like you were
thankful
used
that
to
that's how
taking
we
the
did
easy
it.
road anyways, so
Yeah, yeah. So it's a good feeling knowing you don't owe anybody money. So yeah.
Well, in all seriousness, and this is going to be a weird comparison, but I promise I'll tie it in. But it's almost like, when, if someone was like abused as a child, they find themselves in a relationship with someone that abuses them. That's a, very, uh,
Yeah.
kind of recurring story. And it's because they go back to what they find to be familiar. So
Mhm.
for you, dealing with what you dealt with at 19 and having to figure it out and then reaching a certain level of comfort, I wouldn't doubt it if subconsciously you were just trying to go back to that familiar place that you just spent X amount of years working through and you felt comfortable and you're like, oh, I'm uncomfortable almost being comfortable. I need to get uncomfortable again. I wouldn't doubt it if that played a little bit of a role.
Totally. I mean that. So the the phrase "you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable" is it's kind of one of my go-tos. We're especially trying to train the younger guys in this industry. Like there is nothing comfortable about construction in any form. Like it's in the field, it's hot in the summer, it's cold in the winter, and then as you grow into more leadership positions in construction, it's just tumultuous. Every day it's like the hard part to accept is that, I mean, our real job in construction is basically to deal with problems. I mean, if that's why I'm here. And I got to remind myself of that regularly when things come up and it's frustrating. It's like, well, yeah, that's why you were hired.
That's why you're the GC. You're there to put out the shit shows.
Right. I mean, if otherwise, customers would just hire contractors themselves. So, um, yeah, kid, if you want a comfortable, steady paced, you know, kind of similar day in, day out job, don't get into construction because it's nothing like that.
No. So, and how long have you been in business now?
We're going into our ninth year, I think.
Okay, sweet. So, like, give us some context because we've been talking about construction, but what type of construction do you do? Like, maybe give us a sense of like the size of, your typical project or whatever. And then what does the team look like now? Like, how many folks do you have as a part of the company?
Sure. So most of our jobs are smaller to medium size. We're like 5 million and less is pretty much our bread and butter. And a question I get asked a lot is, what's your niche? Because like Landon was saying, a lot of contractors have a niche, and it's always been a challenge to answer that for us. Having a lot of experience in what I would call a small package. JF and I have built in pretty much every market sector, whether it's big heavy healthcare, education, office, industrial, restaurant, retail. And so, I mean, if you had asked us when we started what was our niche going to be, we would have said healthcare. And we do healthcare, but it's by no means like anywhere close to the majority of what we do. But our niche is really, we seem to gravitate towards working with other small business owners, particularly owner operators, and helping them grow their business, or start their business, just like Landon. That's our stereotypical job, and I we've been extremely successful doing that. I think being an owner operator myself, it's easy to be relatable with another owner operator, and you know our customers aren't just dealing with an employee, they're dealing with someone just like them that had to take a big risk to build their dream. And so nearly all of our jobs are with owner operators. We do some nonprofit, but the vast majority are owner operators. And I find it extremely fulfilling, because we have a very cliche saying, but it's like our dream was to build a construction company. And so by building someone else's dream of starting their business, we're in turn building our dream of our construction company. And so it really puts everything in alignment between us and our customers. And in
I
terms of
think
other
from my
facets of like our,
perspective,
what's
real
that?
quick, I'd say in terms of my perspective, David, I think the biggest thing that I appreciate about John and his team is much like he said, like he may not admit it, but he's a relationship guy. Like he's just easy to connect with. He cares. He gives a shit about what your dream is, how you're going to get it there, and what role they play. And like I said, isn't going to BS you. It's like, hey, here's a fair deal for us, a fair deal for you. Let's go, right? And David, knowing me the way you know me, that's how I like to do things, right? It's like, look, I understand there's got to be some juice in this for both of us. Um, I just don't want to be bullshitted. And I knew that right from the jump, you know. John was one of those guys. And then I also like that he's a grinder in a family business because I come from a family of entrepreneurs as well. So I think he's at
Well,
the heart of it all. He's a relationship guy that just does construction.
and just be careful, John, because Landon is very particular since he has some skill set in, around his house. So try your best, but cock the rest.
Yeah. I'm just gonna give you John's number, so anytime you got a house project now, David, you just call John to settle that instead of
Oh,
me.
I just thought of this. So remember I called you, Landon, and I was like, "Dog, I'm trying to put this curtain rod up in the
Yes.
bedroom," and I was like, "I can't get through the freaking wall." And you're like, "There's probably a metal plate there. You need to go slower, and it will go through." So it ended up working. But anyways, it took me, I think, like 6 holes to create the hole that I needed. So needless to say, we had our handyman come and do that in our bedroom that we just redid the other day. And I heard it and I heard him like struggling. I was like, "Hey, just so you know, there's a metal plate right there. You got to go slower." And he was like, "Oh, perfect. I was wondering what I was hitting." So thank you for that advice. I was able to share it with someone else. But one thing, since I just
Those metal
bragged,
plates are actually there for a reason, though. Generally, they're covering like an electrical line or a reason that they don't want you to drill through that. But yeah, either way,
well,
I'm glad you
it's
got through
drilled
it.
through and he did not get shocked. But I also had him, as we're doing all this work on our house. Of course, our dishwasher shit the bed. I'm like, all right, another $500. So before I got a dishwasher, the guy was over. I was like, "Hey, you know anything about dishwashers?" I was like, I'm pressing the panel, it's not working. Like, I don't know if I need a new one. And he goes over, he looks at it, presses something, holds it for 3 seconds. He goes, "Your panel was locked because this button was pressed for 3 seconds. So now it's unlocked." And Kennedy looks at me because she just did all the dishes by hand. She was like, "Are you kidding me?" So this is not my forte. But John, enough about me and my stupid stuff. Um, you are about to get into how many team members you have.
Sure. So we're 10 now. We kind of hover, 10, 12. Um, my I've never wanted to grow into a big company. If I grow into a big company, then I'm just like everybody else. And I think our strength is JF and I's ability to bring, our heavy-handed expertise directly to our projects. And there's only so much of us to go around. So I don't want to dilute, through growth, I don't want to dilute, what we can give our customers. And so growth will happen, but slowly, as we build up our guys. But I never see us getting really big. I mean, I love what I do. I love being on the job. I can make a good living doing it. Growth is really for me more of a function of as as my guys grow, I want to continue giving them more opportunities to grow. And so it'll really be driven by our people more than anything. The cream rises to the top, and they're going to want to build, bigger and better projects, or they're going to want to be able to manage multiple projects at once. And so my goal is to try to stay ahead of them and create those opportunities, because the reality is, if I don't, they're going to go somewhere else. They're going to go to a bigger company. So my job as the leader is to keep growth ahead of them and keep presenting, bigger and better opportunities. And then that'll come with time. I think, kind of the way we're set up, and, the way I was, maybe it's just, I'm trying to mold everybody how I grew up, but, it's rare to find, someone that's both good with their hands, but also can learn or has the business skills to run and manage a company or large scale projects. It's very rare. There's a lot of college educated kids out there that are real smart, but they're not builders. They've never been exposed to it. They've never worked on a job. I mean, no shit. I interviewed a kid who smart, super smart kid. He had a master's degree in structural engineering, but when it came time to nuts and bolts, like he didn't know how big a two by four was, and like literally didn't know how big a two
Literally,
by four. And
Well, David, you
and
probably don't know this either, but a 2 by 4 is not 2 inches by 4 inches.
it's
It's an inch and a
slightly
half by
smaller.
3.5. Yeah, there you
Yes,
go.
I
Yeah,
did
yes,
yeah.
know that,
It's
and
it's like when you
no
when you
word of a
proposition
lie.
Kennedy on the first date, you talk about it as a
No.
2 by 4, and then
yeah,
Well, no word of a lie. I learned that a week and a half ago.
yeah. And so yeah, I mean, it's understandable if you're not in the industry, but
yeah, that's mind
yeah,
blowing.
I mean, for us to be lean and mean and to operate like we do, I'm greedy. I want dudes with all the skill sets,
You
right?
need eight players.
Yeah, and but you can't find you. It's rare if you find one. He probably has his own company already, right?
Or he
So
will.
so what we try to do is it's like, all right, well, we can build them, right? And so I've got guys that have come up through the trades. I've got guys that have come up through college, and we train and we fill in the blanks. And I love my team. I mean, they're loyal as the day is long. They're hard workers. They know what it means to work hard while doing hard work. And I mean, they'll walk through fire for their teammates or for the customers. And when you got guys like that, you can teach skill sets, right? I mean, but you can't teach that kind of attitude or effort. And so, when we're hiring people or looking to grow, I mean, I want gritty dudes. I want people that are just going to do whatever it takes, to grind through and get it done. And but that's not everybody, right? I mean,
It's a rare
it's
skill
rare.
set.
You gotta be patient.
I always say I want to hire people that think like owners but don't want to be owners.
Yes,
That's that's
that's hard.
that's tough to find.
Yeah, and then you got to be able to keep them when they do think like owners. It's like, all right, well, now
I got to tie him
I
to the
gotta
ship
present
some way or another.
opportunities for you. Or so I got a couple that I think are gonna put me in that situation. And frankly, I can't wait till they do, because that's a
It's a
good thing at
good
the end of the
problem.
day. Yeah.
From when you started about 9 years ago, how long did it take you to hire your first employee?
Not too long. I think we were about 3, 4 months in. We hired our first, then hired our second shortly after that. Uh, I mean, we got up to probably five pretty quick within the first year and a half. Um, and we've kind of, yeah, I mean, we've added here and there, and we've added and scaled. And um, I think we do a good job of training. I think I've definitely lost a couple dudes because of that. They've gotten some good experience under the belt, and a couple have gone to Kiewit, and another went to another big company, and it stings a little bit when that happens, but I get it. I can't blame them for that, because when I was their age, I wanted the same thing. Like, I wanted to build bigger and bigger stuff. And even for me, telling them, hey, if you stick around here, we may not build the bigger stuff, but you can build more jobs. Or I'm like, you've got a straight ladder to the top here. I'm going to be looking for partners before long here, and that could be you. But that's not for everybody. And
Hmm.
so I've I don't know that I would say I've been desensitized to people leaving, but I I, I think it's just more keenly aware of, you know, if it's not the right fit, or we had some good times, we had some success, and it's time for them to move on. I've become just more at peace with that. It's going to happen. And statistically, with the younger generation, I mean, they like to hop around, and that's kind of the way of the world today. And
Hmm.
so, My
Especially in your
goal is to,
industry, they see another $2 an hour more or whatever.
yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
yep.
And so it kind of comes with the territory, I think, is what I've realized. And, um, I try to focus on, on the people that I got. And, we're going to be successful either way. I mean, I refuse to fail at anything. And if, if we, we're at a very stable and manageable size right now. And so, we're in a good spot where if I lose a guy, it's not gonna sink me. It's just time to find someone else. So, and
I
every construction company goes through that. I mean, I can't imagine these larger companies and what what the HR office looks like when you've got 50 dudes. Oh my God, no way. There's no thank you.
I think it's pretty cool. Um, I haven't thought about it this way, but you had made mention of like when you started the business, your wife had said, what are we going to do about money? And whether you admitted it then or not, like you were wondering the same thing of what am I going to
Oh
do
yeah.
about money? And then you fast forward, and not only can you pay your bills, but you can pay 10 other people's bills too. And a lot of folks don't acknowledge that of like you didn't just replace your income. You've been able to impact the lives of 10 other people as we sit here today, and food's on their table, rent and mortgages are paid, car payments are paid, insurances are paid, fun stuff is paid. Like that's pretty freaking cool.
It is really cool and really scary at the same time. I mean, because yeah, I mean it's true. You feel like you're not just responsible for your family anymore. You're responsible for everyone's. And you know, when times are good, it's great. Fortunately, Omaha has been a great market. We've been able to stay really busy, but yeah, like when COVID hit, that was scary. I mean, things looked like they could really slow down, and they slowed down a little bit. We weathered it really well, but that hits you really hard, and that's, I mean, every business owner is going through that. Because at least every good one, I never, you know, part of what I didn't like, or when you run a really big business, it's hard to, you almost have to disconnect, in some regards with, you know, your people to a point. I mean, I don't know how you manage, if you had 100 people. I mean, it would be hard to not just, see them as tools or numbers. I mean, and I saw a little bit of that with bigger companies where it's like, I need 10 guys or I only need two guys. And it's really, I don't ever want that to happen, with our company. I like the feel of a family company. That doesn't mean things are always roses and butterflies. And, things are not always easy. Everyone's got to have hard conversations sometimes. But when you do it from a place, uh, of really thoughtfulness, it means something.
Mm.
Yeah, I've always found hard conversations are a lot easier to have if you care, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um, if it's coming from a place of, hey, this is an issue and I just want to see you be better, it's a hell of a lot more meaningful conversation than if you have zero relationship with that person and you're just blowing their ass out, just all the time, right? They're only going to
yeah,
take so much of that. If
yep,
they know you care, you can have much more of those meaningful, difficult conversations for
yeah.
sure. What do you
You,
do, John, in your industry as far as like attracting and finding talent? I mean, are you, because again, you're in the builder world, right? You're a
Yeah.
small to medium sized operator. Um, I mean, are you having to get into the full benefits things? Is it just competitive wages? I mean, because your world, I know during COVID, again, working with some guys that are in your spot industry wise, some of these guys were demanding salaries that were crazy. And I know two of them, well, it was like, hey, you fire your guy, I'll hire him over here and we'll reset the pay scale a little bit because it's almost gotten out of control, right? I mean, are you
Yeah.
doing full health insurance, 401k? Like it's, are you having to do all of that to try and keep your talent?
Yeah, and we've done it. I mean, we've done it by choice. I mean, so we got a 401k program. Uh, we help pay for some of the insurance, not all of it. Um, you know, guys have gotten raises every year. We're big on, performance-based bonuses. Uh, I like those because I find them motivational. I find them more motivational than just a pay increase. I mean, and I,
Couldn't agree
the
more.
goal is that, you keep guys hungry and you keep them wanting it. Um, but yeah, finding people in, I don't
Because
know
it's
what
hard,
it
right?
is.
Omaha's got a lot of the big dogs. So you got Kiewit here, like I said, you got MCL's no joke now. I mean, any longer. You've got Hawkins, you've got all these guys. They're
Yeah,
big. It's easier for them to offer that stuff, right?
it's
It's like
way
my
easier
uncle
for,
in North Platte owns a welding shop and he's competing with Union Pacific. It's like, well, they can pay more and they got benefits like crazy. I can't really blame them, but it's tough to keep good talent.
yeah, it's incredibly hard. And I think for us, like I was explaining earlier, like we want people that are well-rounded both with hand skills and management skills. And you know some of these guys, it's like they can go to a big company and carry a clipboard all day long and never get dirty, right? And it's like, well, that's just not
It,
us.
you're not going to get that
That's
here.
we bring a ton of value to our customers by our willingness to work. I'm like, I tell customers, I call them, I'm like, we don't have what I call coffee cup superintendents, right? We don't have a superintendent that just walks a job all day long with a coffee cup. Like, that is not us. Like, if you're done with your administrative duties, or you've made your phone calls and you've written your reports, then you're going to be busy. Like, you're going to pick up a broom, or I've got these tasks scheduled for you to do. Um, that's a way for us to reduce costs and give that value back to our customers. So, but it's hard work, right? And so you're trying to motivate guys to work harder, for probably the same as they're going to make somewhere else. So it can be a hard sell sometimes, but I know our guys, they appreciate it in the fact that anything truly fulfilling in life comes through effort, right? Like, and so it's one thing to manage a job, but when you're managing or leading a job and you can point to all the things that you did to directly contribute to that, like, hey, I built that over there, or I solved this problem, it's tremendously more fulfilling than just saying, well, yeah, I spent 6 months here telling people what to do. So, I know my guys see that, appreciate that, and find a lot of fulfillment in those efforts. And so it's just finding more like-minded people is all. And um, as they come, we'll grow. And I think when I look at our core group of people, almost all of them came through some type of relationship. And one of
So you're
my
not using just a recruiting service again. I didn't figure
no,
you were knowing
we
you.
try. I mean,
You,
we advertise on those, and
yeah.
you uh trying to think. I think we have one person that we got through advertising, but
That's the
by
way I
and
like to do it
large,
too. It's like when Dale and Cole endorse you, it's like, all right, well, if they think he's a good cat, I probably know he's a good cat, right? I always want to meet
yeah,
people that way as much as possible.
yeah. So yeah, all of our pretty much, I think aside from maybe one, they all came through some type of relationship, and uh, I just chalk that up to, I don't know, God's work or luck. I don't know which one, but I couldn't be more thankful to have them. So
And is your dad still with the company?
yeah, he is. He's I think he sees her retirement on the horizon. So
He walked the site with us. He was there.
yeah, he was there.
And little Johnny.
Yeah, my son John's in. So yeah, he'll start, retiring here. He started retire, but he's not the guy to retire, right? So
He's gonna hang around
he's going to
for
hang
a
around. So
while.
he wants to get out of the day to day, which
You
he's
make him the
started
coffee cup
transition.
superintendent eventually.
Yeah, yeah. So and he's earned that. Like, it's a great industry, but like I said, it's a stressful one. And so he's moving out of the day to day, and he's earned that. So he'll move out, and then I'll probably get a few years of holding the company solely, but I'm eager to grow some new partners. I mean, because I don't, I love what I do, but I don't want to carry the whole thing by myself forever either. And it's important that I get more partners and get them more opportunities, and that'll when that happens, it'll be the sweet spot. So
What's it like working alongside your dad?
it's great. We are it, it's been great. It's like any relationship, right? I mean, and we're both here's the deal. We're both
I was
very
waiting for you to tell the
opinionated and
truth.
stubborn
Yeah.
people. Like we are so much the same that sometimes, yeah, that's not good. Because we'll agree on 95% of an issue, but we'll fight like cats and dogs over the last 5%. And usually it's almost always on the customer's benefit. Like, hey, should we do it this way? Should we do it that way? But we fully embrace here, and another one of our sayings is iron sharpens iron. Like, let let's put the ideas on the table, and let's challenge each other, and so it's been great. I mean, but yeah, like I said, we're both got fiery personalities, and we're both passionate. I mean, this is our baby. So um but the best thing is we'll get in a heated argument about something, and then 2 minutes later it's over and done with, and it's
He's
like,
back to being grandpa, you're back to being dad, and
yeah,
away you go.
exactly. It's never personal, right? It's just because we both care and we want the best, and it's a daily basis of, hey, tomato tomato, and now John is learning different things, and he's like, well, JF says this and you say this, and I'm like, you know what, neither one of them is the wrong way. It's a preference. So it's, again, iron sharpens iron. It's all good. It's all great things.
Before we start wrapping up, I have one last question that I'm curious about. So, you're running a business. There's, 10 employees. You have a wife and four kids. How do you blend the two sides of your life together or balance the two sides of your life together?
Yeah, that's a good question. My wife and kids are amazing, and my wife, like I said, she's just my rock, and so she makes it very easy for me. Like, she's really the one that makes that happen. Like, I, my day is just, managing people and managing schedules, or leading this and leading that. And she handles my personal life. I mean, I call her, hey, where do I need to be and when? What game do we have tonight? And she's just my rock. She makes it easy. And
He's the
um,
CEO on the home front.
she is. And so, and she's understanding. It's like, I'm like, hey, I need to work late tonight. She's like, all right, no problem. I'll read a book while you work. My kids are getting older now, and so that's easier too, because it's like, it's not uncommon at all to where the kids are sitting there doing their homework and I'm doing my homework, right? So that, again, that makes it easy. It's great owning your own business when we had to go out of town for college visits the past couple of weeks, and it's just like, hey, I got to go. I'll bring my backpack, and I'll work from wherever. So my wife and kids, they make it easy on me. They understand, they're appreciative of what the work is for and what it means. And it's great. And I like to work, and I love, one of my favorite things is working around my house or my farm. And so, I get home, and if she's got a chore list for me, I'm happy to do it. Like I enjoy doing those things. So uh, yeah,
I can
it
relate
really
on that
has.
front.
Yeah, it really, I can take no credit for that work-life balance because it's truly a testament to my wife.
Well, we'll try to splice that little segment out and you can share that with her. So one of the questions that we ask all of our guests is a book that's had an impact on them. There's a ton of books out there, and for folks who are entrepreneurial, it's good to refine that list for them. And the book that you had made mention of is called The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And frankly, I know most of the books that our guests bring up, but I have not heard of this. What's the impact that it's had on you?
Yeah, so I love to read um, a variety of different things, but when you pose the question, what was the most impactful book? That was the first one that came to mind, and it's a fairly prominent book. It's about a father and son in a post-apocalyptic world, and they're traveling. They're seeking food, shelter, and I think it was impactful for me because of its maybe relatability to my early years that we talked about. Like it's it's beautifully written, and it's both heart-wrenching and beautiful at the same time about, you know, this father's love for his son, and just the anguish he's going through to try to protect and provide for him. And the father's sick, and he passes away at the end of the book, but he's always like, the phrase in the book is, you have to carry the fire. You have to carry on. You got to carry the fire of, the family, of what it means to be kind and human. And it's really kind of, on a larger scale, I think it represents, humanity's ability to carry on, and to continue to love and cherish, regardless of, what's around you. When everything, goes to shit, who are we going to be as a people? And that really starts with, the relationship in the family, and the relationship between the father and his children. And so that was really it. It just struck me, and it's like, just beautifully anguishing, I would say, to read. But I found it very powerful.
Sounds like a book everyone should read before this world goes to shit with nothing but AI and social media.
Yeah, no, seriously, yeah.
And throw some nukes in there, and yeah, we're
Yeah,
apocalyptic.
yeah. There we go.
Um, well, John, I must say, and I say this sincerely with a slight tongue in cheek because I'm not able to do this at the moment, nor will I live in Nebraska because I live in Florida right now and I like the perpetual summer here.
Yeah.
Um, but if I lived in Nebraska, I'd have you build some shit just because I really like you. You're
Well,
just genuinely a good dude.
thank you.
I've appreciated hearing a little bit about your story and what you've done, and you can tell in your tone of voice and pace and the way that you talk about things that you're just a genuine guy. So I'll I'll stop making your head explode so you can walk through the doorway still. But yeah, I've really enjoyed our time together today, man.
I
Oh,
thought he was
same.
maybe going to
Thank
hit
you.
you up to come to Florida to finish out his house project for you. He was trying to butter you up to get you down there, John.
You know what? JF has a place in Florida. Maybe he can come by there and help you out.
There you go.
And
There you go.
if you know anything about stupid things like dishwashers, and my other story was I had someone come over because my hot water heater shit the bed, and he fixed it in 30 seconds because all I did was press the reset button. So I've had a lot of tuition payments in the form of service calls for stupid things like that. But with that said, if folks want to learn more about the company, where should they go? Where can they check you guys out?
Yeah, the best place is just our website, McLeaybuildingco.com. Uh,
That's
I think we
McLeay, by the way, McLeay.
yes, McLeay. But that's the best place to kind of learn about us, see some of the work that we've done, and and otherwise I just say my number's on there. Call me. Like you said, relationships are big to us, and that's where all of our work comes from. So
Sweet. Well, given your backstory and what you've built, I now understand what I can imagine, anyways, is the meaning of the word perseverance that's on your shirt that you're wearing right now. So makes all the sense in the world. But appreciate your time. Crush it with the project with Landon, and for everyone tuning in, we appreciate your time as well. But it was good hanging out, John.
yep,
Thanks,
thanks,
John.
fellas.
Appreciate you.
It.
All right, take care.
Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces.